What percent of our atmosphere is CO2, carbon dioxide? Wild guess, it's okay.
I'll bite 5%.
Hi, everybody. Auntie speaks. Welcome back. If you like my content, please like and subscribe. It helps me out quite a bit. So, we're going to talk about the administrators who know nothing. They want to control our lives. They want to control our energy. They want to destroy the economy. But they don't have any information on the basic chemistry of climate change. So what I'm going to do in this video is show you these morons. Because, hey, if you want to control all of the economy, you might want to know why. But I'm also going to bring in a video of someone who is trying to educate you on how to argue for global warming. And I'm going to give you very simple tips on how to debunk it for the conversations that you have at home. So let's look at two of these really quick clips.
What percent of our atmosphere is CO2, carbon dioxide? Wild guess, it's okay.
I'll bite 5%.
5?
I'll just follow you then.
We'll go 7. That's my favorite number.
I'll see their 5 and suggest that we know that transportation causes 49% of CO2, so that's why we're all working on energy transition.
All right. So what number do you think it is?
5.
5? How about you? I didn't hear you, Mr. Dreyer.
7.
7. Did you have one, Mr. Boyd?
So we got a 5, 7,
This Price is Right.
8.
Responsibility, openness of government, etc. Let me ask you, what percentage of the atmosphere is CO2?
What percentage of the atmosphere is CO2? I don't have that calculation for you, sir.
Maybe you could tell us what your personal guess is on what percentage of the CO2.
I don't make those guesses, sir.
You're the head of the EPA and you don't know. You have all of these laws based on, you're going to get your staffer to tell you now. But you're the head of the EPA and you did not know what percentage, and now you are basing policies that impact dramatically on the American people, and you didn't even know what the content of CO2 in the atmosphere was, which is the justification for the very policies you're talking about?
No, that.
Well, thank you.
If you're asking me how much CO2 is in the atmosphere, not a percentage, but how much, we have just reached levels of 400 parts per million.
I think I was very
Imagine the number of my constituents who are unknowingly being poisoned by their gas stove in the state that it is without this proposed rule being in effect.
You want to tell people that their concern and their desire for clean air and clean water is elitist? Tell that to the kids in the South Bronx, which are suffering from the highest rates of childhood asthma in the country. Tell that to the families in Flint.
There we go. You want to control our lives. You want to control all of energy. You want to measure and restrict all of energy to control CO2. That's why, right? CO2 is dangerous. It's a pollutant. It's terrible. And I put Cori Bush in here. How many people are being poisoned by their stoves? And AOC. Obviously, she thinks CO2 is a poisonous gas that's giving kids in the Bronx asthma. I hate to tell you that's not happening. So here you go. 0.04%. 0.04%. That is the concentration in the Earth's atmosphere. Okay? Yeah, that's a lot, isn't it? Isn't it a lot? And here's another secret. Most of that is natural CO2. It's like 93. I'll pull up a chart here. Here's a chart. I can't remember exactly, but it's like 93% of all the CO2 in the atmosphere is natural. It's not from us. So they want to control a percent of a half a percent of a half a percent of a half a percent. And they think that is the control knob for the world. But hey, it's a great way to control people. You want to control the world? You want to control everything that everybody does? Control energy. Now we're going to bring in this lovely gentleman who's going to educate us on how to argue with those crazy skeptics about CO2. And I'm going to show you some very simple tips on what you say to someone who gives you these quote unquote facts. Here we go.
Let's not beat around the rapidly melting iceberg here. Climate change is happening, and we are causing it. The evidence is overwhelming. Scientists usually reserve this level of agreement for claims like Earth is a planet or air is real. Yet here we are. The climate change ship has now left the dock, yet lots of people on shore are still debating whether boats can actually float. But maybe you're a person who trusts and accepts what climate scientists are telling us. It's just, sometimes it's hard to explain why. I mean, we've all been there. I mean, I care about the environment. I figure with the polar bears and everything, we might as well try electric cars. What do we have to lose? And then they go caps lock serious, saying they have proof that climate change is a hoax perpetuated by scientists paid off by the polar bear lobby as part of a plan to install Al Gore as Supreme World Polar Bear Emperor. Wake up, sheeple.
Okay. So number one, he does what everybody does when they don't have an argument. They argue from authority. They say, all scientists agree. So aren't you stupid for not agreeing? That's not a scientific argument. And anybody who uses one is not being honest. Or they don't know what the scientific argument is. There are two sides of this scientific argument. One side says the earth is burning. We need to change now or we're all going to die. And I'm not being hyperbolic. That's what they say. Okay? The other side says, yes, CO2 has a warming effect. Yes, we have warmed about 1 degree, 1.2 degrees. It's really tough to measure that. Because we only have satellites back to the 70s, and that's the only true global measurement that we have. But it's not going to be catastrophic, and most of the effects of CO2 will probably be positive. Now, those both seem like reasonable arguments. They might be right. I might be wrong. But I might be right, and they might be wrong. But I am not arguing from authority. I'm arguing from facts.
The insulating effect of Earth's greenhouse gases are the reason that life exists as we know it, but human activities have increased the concentration of one of them, carbon dioxide, 40% since the Industrial Revolution. We know the sun's output has varied during history, but since the 1970s, the period when global temperatures increased the fastest, temperature and solar activity have moved in opposite directions.
Okay, so this is how you defeat these arguments. So these are very, very standard arguments. Oh, we're putting so much in the atmosphere. Oh my God, it's so much. It's so terrible. So this is the first thing that you do to someone who's arguing with you about climate change. Do you know the concentration of CO2 in the atmosphere? And if you do know the concentration, what is the percentage of the atmosphere that is CO2? Nobody knows it. Nobody does. And it's 0.04, just like we talked about before. And once they accept that, if they don't say, look, you can go Google it, it's common knowledge. Every scientist knows. We've known the concentration of the atmosphere for hundreds of years now. And then the second question you ask them is, what percentage of that 0.04% is man-made? And if they don't do that, do something simple and tell them 90%. 90%. So we're putting 40% more in the atmosphere. We're putting 40% more in the atmosphere of 0.04%. And of that 0.04%, it's only 10%. So what are you increasing? Almost nothing. Okay, let's move on here. So solar activity has been going down? Really? Over the past 100 years, it's been going down? How do we measure solar activity? Well, there's lots of ways to measure solar activity, and this is disagreement among scientists. Here is a solar activity chart. Now, this is sunspot activity. Now, this is where scientists do not agree. We have scientists who believe sunspots have no effect on climate, and we have some scientists who say that it is the major driver of climate. See how science works? There's disagreements. I am on the second end. I think sunspots do affect the climate. And why? Because I have proof. Here's a chart of sunspot activity over time. And you do see this lovely little spot here in the middle called the Maunder minimum. You might have known that epoch of history by a different name. It's called the Little Ice Age, where basically for about 100 years, there were no sunspots on the sun at all. And it was very, very cold. So here's your argument. Do you know the percentage of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere? Do you know the percentage of that is man-made versus natural? See? Very simple.
If the sun was to blame, it would cook the upper and lower layers of the atmosphere together. Instead, we only see warming in the lower layers, the same place that human greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide are piling up.
This guy is just a moron. So he's completely wrong. Scientifically, the global warming theory predicts that we will see warming at the troposphere. So they run models, and the models say if it is man-made global warming, we would see more warming in the troposphere. It's called the hot spot. Is that what we find scientifically? No, we find the exact opposite. Here you go. The right is climate models, and the left is reality. Thanks.
Studying gases trapped in ice cores has let us see what Earth's atmosphere was like in the past. At more than 400 parts per million, today's carbon dioxide levels are the highest they've been for almost 1 million years. That's before humans even existed. Totally uncharted territory for us. More carbon dioxide in the atmosphere means average temperatures across the globe are increasing, and fast. Right now, Earth is warming about 10 times faster than at the end of an ice age.
Okay. So, once again, measured by what? And here's the third question that you need to ask people. Do you know what the average concentration of CO2 was over the lifetime of the Earth? Do you know? Well, let's look at this chart. Wow. Look at that. The answer is 2,000 parts per million. We are at 400 parts per million. We are closer to the death of plants than we are for being in danger of CO2. And we are increasing now faster than we ever have in human history. Citation needed. Number one, we don't even have thermometers back very far. You got a couple of 100 years. And the thermometer measurements that we have for some of the longest ones do not show a large increase in warming. Like I said, it's about a degree. About a degree from our lowest point in temperature over what we know for the past, 10,000 years. So we're coming out of the little ice age. So that's why a person like myself says, I'm not convinced. We don't know if it is man-made or natural. Okay, everybody. So if you like this content, please like, comment, and subscribe. I'd love to do a bunch more of these, but nobody seems to like them. But I love this topic, and I think it's one of the most important issues that we have. So please share this. This is how you argue it. You ask that person, number one, do you know the percentage of CO2 in the atmosphere? Do you know the percentage that's man-made versus natural? And do you know the concentration, average concentration of CO2 in the life of the Earth? If you put those three facts out there in the universe, you're going to change more minds than you think. Because when you look at it that way, you're like, oh my God, really? Okay, guys, we will see you on the next one.